Picture a 20-something kid who just inherited the family business, except the family business is an entire kingdom, and instead of a boring first day with a name tag and a coffee machine tour, he gets a literal dream visit from the actual creator of the universe, asking him one question: name your prize, no strings attached, take anything you want. If your brain immediately jumped to a lifetime supply of tacos, a private jet, or the ability to never wait in traffic again, relax, you're in good company, because that's basically what everyone in this story except one guy was thinking. That guy is Solomon, son of David, a teenager who just got handed the throne of Israel like someone tossing him the car keys before he even learned to parallel park a chariot. David is dead, the kingdom is enormous, the politics are messy, half his relatives apparently think they deserve the throne more than he did, and Solomon is standing there thinking he is way out of his depth, which, honestly, relatable content right there, because show me one person who started a brand new job and didn't briefly consider faking their own disappearance out of pure panic. So he goes to a place called Gibeon, throws an absolutely massive barbecue for God, 1,000 burnt offerings, which is either deep devotion or the most aggressive attempt at buttering someone up in recorded history. And that night God shows up in a dream and says, and I am paraphrasing but only slightly, "Ask me for literally anything and it's yours. Gold, armies, the death of every enemy who ever looked at him funny, a really long life so he can enjoy all of it." The options are basically unlimited. It's a blank check from the being who invented checks. And Solomon, this kid who could have asked for absolutely anything, says, essentially, could I please just get an understanding heart so I don't mess up judging your people? Because right now I feel like a toddler trying to run a Fortune 500 company. And God, who apparently was expecting Solomon to ask for a yacht, is so pleasantly shocked by this answer that he basically says, you know what, nobody has ever asked me for that. I'm so impressed I'm going to give it to you anyway. Plus I'm throwing in the riches and the honor you didn't even ask for. Free bonus items, like ordering a burger and getting a side of fries you didn't pay for. Solomon wakes up the next morning, and the Bible actually points out that he realized it was a dream, which is a very polite way of saying he had to pinch himself and go, wait, did that actually just happen? Before rushing off to sacrifice more offerings and throw what can only be described as history's most spiritually confusing party for his entire staff. Because how exactly do you explain to your assistants that you just got a firmware update directly from God overnight? So Solomon wakes up with the wisdom upgrade installed, no tutorial required, and the universe, being the universe, decides the very next thing that happens is the ultimate stress test, because apparently wisdom is useless if nobody ever needs it. Enter two women, roommates, which already sounds like the setup to a sitcom nobody asked for, except this sitcom involves two newborn babies and zero laugh track. Both women had given birth within 3 days of each other, living in the same house, no other witnesses, no security cameras, no group chat to check the timeline, just two exhausted new mothers and two infants. And then tragedy strikes. One baby dies in the night, and here's where the story goes, from touching to absolutely unhinged, because instead of grieving like a normal person, the grieving mother allegedly gets up in the middle of the night, quietly swaps her dead baby for the other woman's living baby while she's asleep, and tiptoes back to bed like she just pulled off the smoothest heist in ancient history. Morning comes, the other woman wakes up, reaches for her baby, and discovers she is now holding a baby that is very much not breathing. And if you think that's a bad way to start your day, you are correct, but it gets worse. Because when she looks closer in the daylight, she realizes this isn't even her kid. This is a full identity swap, performed in total darkness, by a woman working entirely on instinct and desperation, which honestly deserves some kind of twisted award for commitment. Chaos erupts immediately. Both women are now screaming that the living baby belongs to them. Both are insisting the dead baby belongs to the other. And since there is no ultrasound photo, no hospital bracelet, no DNA lab conveniently located next door, this argument has nowhere to go except straight to the top, which means it lands directly on Solomon's desk, or throne, or whatever ancient kings used instead of a desk. So picture the scene, the freshly upgraded wise king sitting there, two furious women in front of him, one live baby between them, both women pointing fingers and talking over each other at the exact same volume, both claiming motherhood with the confidence of someone who has never once doubted themselves. And Solomon is sitting there thinking, okay, this is exactly the kind of impossible situation I asked God to prepare me for. No pressure. There's no security footage, no witnesses, no forensic evidence, just two identical stories colliding head-on. He said, she said, except it's she said, and everyone in the room is basically waiting to see how a king solves a problem problem that has no obvious solution. Meanwhile, the royal guards standing along the walls are doing that thing where you desperately try to look neutral while internally begging not to get called on for an opinion, because nobody in that palace wants to be the one who guesses wrong in front of the entire court. And then Solomon does something that makes the entire room go dead silent. He calmly asks for a sword, and not a decorative one either, an actual functional sword, and everyone's jaw drops, because surely he isn't about to do what it sounds like he's about to do. He announces, with the calm tone of someone ordering a sandwich, that since neither woman can prove ownership, the fairest solution is obviously to cut the living baby directly down the middle and give each woman exactly half. Problem solved. Very efficient, very equal, technically fair on paper, horrifying in every other way imaginable. And here's the twist that turns this from a horror story into the smartest move in ancient judicial history. Solomon never actually intended to go through with it, because he understood something nobody else in the room understood, which is that real love reveals itself the instant it's tested. The second the sword comes out, one woman doesn't even flinch. She says, "Go ahead, cut the baby in half. That way neither of us gets him," which, if you're keeping score, is an incredibly cold response to a baby being sliced in front of you. But the other woman, the real mother, absolutely loses it. She starts begging, "Please, don't kill him. Give the baby to her. Just let him live. I would rather lose him and know he's alive than win a court case and bury him." And that single sentence is the entire plot twist wrapped in one desperate, heartbroken outburst. Solomon, who saw exactly what he needed to see, immediately calls off the sword, points at the woman who just begged for the baby's life, and announces that she is the true mother, because no imposter on earth is willing to sacrifice her own claim just to keep a child alive. That kind of love cannot be faked under pressure. And just like that, the case is closed, the baby goes home with his actual mother, and the entire kingdom hears about it. And suddenly everyone is terrified to lie to this king, because apparently he can read your soul using nothing but a sword he was never going to use. Word spreads across the whole nation immediately. People start looking at Solomon differently, not as some inexperienced kid who inherited a throne, but as a ruler with a genuinely terrifying level of insight, the kind of reputation you cannot buy, you cannot fake, and you definitely cannot get from a leadership seminar. And honestly, if you zoom out, the real lesson buried inside all this chaos isn't just that Solomon was clever, it's that wisdom was never about knowing every answer in advance. It was about understanding people well enough to design a test that would expose the truth on its own, without a single witness, without a shred of physical evidence, just pure understanding of how real love behaves when it's cornered. So next time you're stuck in an impossible situation with zero evidence and two people telling completely opposite stories, maybe don't reach for a sword, but definitely remember that the truth usually reveals itself the moment something real is actually at stake, which, by the way, is exactly why Solomon's little courtroom stunt with a sword he never planned to use ended up more famous 3,000 years later than most actual verdicts handed down by actual modern courts with actual modern lawyers and actual modern paperwork, proving once again that sometimes the smartest move in the room isn't the loudest one, it's the one that quietly waits for people to reveal exactly who they are.